The number of GOP senators saying they're going to oppose the impeachment trial is growing, which is a good sign that the odds of convicting the president are fading. Plus, many lawmakers are getting death threats as articles of impeachment now make their way to the Senate. This is a very divisive issue. Impeachment divides. That's what it does. And we are very divided right now. Why do you think that Joe Biden hasn't stepped in to stop this process, to sort of call off the dogs in the Democratic Party and stop it where it is?
I'm not sure he has the power. I think that we all sense that if anyone could have the power, it would be Joe Biden, but he'd have to have the support of his staff. And on day one, it was Jen Psaki as the press secretary at her first press conference saying, basically, the Senate can walk and chew gum. So they're not going to worry about getting involved in the Senate, having the impeachment trial and also getting some of the Biden nominees through in some of the early first 100 days actions through. So I think, again, that whole idea that Joe Biden himself, as seen as a moderate, but is surrounded by liberal advisors, plays out through this. And he's the only person that can step in, really, and call up Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer and say, this is ridiculous. And I will tell you, Rob, as working through one of these, and though this is different because the former president, it is so divisive. It is the most divisive action. It's the most serious action that Congress alone can take, the removal of a duly elected president.
Yeah.
And in this case, that's not even an issue. The only thing at issue here is trying to prevent a private citizen from seeking federal office again.
Yeah, you make a good point. So basically, they would have to move forward with impeachment, and then there would be a second vote on that, on basically whether or not Donald Trump can run for president in 2024. Do you think that actually comes to the floor for a vote?
I don't think I don't think we're going to get there. I look at how do you get to 17 Republicans with all the reports that are coming out. I have a tough time getting past like 3 or 4.
Yeah, you got Mitt Romney. And then after that, it's up in the air, right?
It's up in the air. And so I don't want to start naming names. I did this last time around because other than Romney, who is an example of doing this in the past where he voted to halfway, he voted on one of the articles to impeach President Trump. And it was a vote that meant nothing. It got nothing done for the Democrats. Didn't convince any other Republicans. Didn't convince Lisa Murkowski or Susan Collins or the Ben Sasses of the world to come along. And so I don't want to put anybody in a box right now because I think there's two big issues. Procedurally, number one, I think a lot of Republicans are at issue, and they share Lindsey Graham's concerns and Ben Sass's concerns, that this impeachment is not constitutionally correct. Whether or not the law school scholars, which are on both sides of the issues, are right or wrong, courts may not ever get involved in this. So it's up to the Senate. Joe Biden once wrote a memo to his fellow senators in the 90s about impeachment, and he said, we don't even have to hear a trial. We can dismiss it right off the bat because we have to consider the general welfare of the country first.
So the president,
and I think those words matter a lot. I mean, if you consider the general welfare of the country first, and you've already got a constitutional issue about impeaching a former federal official, maybe you just shouldn't do it at all. But I don't think that's what we're going to get. I think we've already got a timeline for a trial.
Yeah, February 8th. And the general welfare of the country, you make a great point. We've got 74 million Americans, many of which still feel disenfranchised by the government, by the media. What is this going to do to unite? It's not going to do anything. It's just going to continue to rip this country apart from the inside out. Has the president approached you, by the way, about possibly being a part of the legal team moving forward?
No, the president, we're working with the president every day on other legal issues. Right. And so does this come up? Of course, it's come up before, but in a specific way, no. We're going to, I think in this role, you'll see me a lot, like here on Newsmax, talking people through this, not having to rush out of the Senate floor to do that, but be able to kind of walk people through. Butch Bowers is putting together his team. It's a much shorter trial. It's a much different trial. There's no witnesses. There's some briefing on the schedule, but I mean, we were dealing with a massive amount of witnesses, evidence, and we didn't really know where things would go. Votes could get very short on if people were going to be called. Would there be witnesses was the big question in the Senate portion of the trial of that impeachment. And it was for a sitting president who was up for re-election. This time around, it is a different feeling, but I agree with you. To me, this goes back more as being a Trump supporter and someone on the president's team, like the 74 other million Americans who voted for the president. It's like an impeachment of all of us. It's like if you had anything to do with the president, you should be shamed out of the country. You should be banned. canceled out from ever seeking office.
How dare you vote for that man? While I've got
Exactly.
you, I just want to go through some of the mechanical stuff here. So it looks like the president will have about 2 weeks to prepare his defense. The president, would he be entitled to, and I know it feels like it's deja vu all over again because we did this 13 months ago. Is he going to get a defense? Will he be able to call witnesses? And will he get due process, I guess is my question.
So there'll be the issue, that issue will be decided ultimately if the president, we didn't seek to call any witnesses at the trial.
Right.
They wanted to, of course, but they ended up saying no witnesses on either side. They had all that time to do that in the House. So I don't expect that will change in the Senate rules this time around. They come up with rules that kind of govern each impeachment. But the president is going to get due process. His lawyers will get as much time as the House managers. They will have the same opportunity to answer questions from senators. And I think what is interesting here is that once again, Nancy Pelosi has chosen a ridiculously partisan impeachment team led by Jamie Raskin, a congressman who voted not to certify Donald Trump's election, but is calling people like Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz traitors and calling the president a traitor for having a rally that same day when he did that in 2016.
Jordan,
and the other senator is the other congressman, Eric Swalwell,
right,
in the middle of his own scandal.
Yes.
I mean, so you're not going to really reach 17 Republicans when that's the people you're putting forward. It's like throwing up Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler to scream at Republican senators for hours on end.
Jordan, we have literally very, very tight on time, but while I have you, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the New York Times op-ed that said Joe Biden is our most faithful president, our most religious president in the last 50 years. Yeah,
first of all, we have no idea about that. I think he's got real issues. I'm not a Catholic, but I am pro-life and a Christian, and I know he's got issues with that within his own faith. So this idea, one, how they're deciding this on day one, just because he talks about it a lot as a politician, come on, let's not all be fooled by that. And number two, does that really matter to Americans? What matters to Americans, not words, it's deeds, actions, and on issues of faith-related issues, he's been horrendous.
Right. Jordan Sekulow, always enjoy speaking with you. Thanks so much for your expertise this morning. I'm sure we'll talk to you a lot more as we get closer to that impeachment start date on February 8th. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.